up to him to appeal to them, but he certainly made it clear there's no room for anti-Semitism in New York, just like there's no room for anti-Muslim bigotry, anti-gay hate, anti-Hispanic hatred, or anti-black hate. So that he's going to have an office dedicated to that. That's the most important thing. If people disagree with his views on Israel, and that's how they're going to vote in the election for mayor of New York, well, people vote for any reason they want. But everything he's done is to try to make sure the Jewish community knows that we are in this together. We are Muslims. We know what it's like to be a minority faith. We know what it's like to be demonized for our faith, attacked, of our places of worship attacked. We are with you 100% in that fight.
Dean Obeidallah, great to speak with you. We hear that pitch. Your district of Arizona chose her to be their Democratic congresswoman, but Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson has refused to swear her in to office during the government shutdown. Grijalva visited D.C. this week, demonstrating how she's locked out of laptops, can't use the printer because she still does not have a government email. And she is with us now, joining us from Tucson. Congresswoman-elect, thank you so much for being with us. Your state AG is suing the House over Speaker Johnson not swearing you in. Do you have an update on that? And are you expecting that the lawsuit will be resolved before the government reopens?
We're using every tool available to try to get me sworn in order to be able to represent 812,000 people in the state of Arizona. And so I don't know if it's going to be successful, but really it sort of speaks to how unprecedented this is, that I have been waiting to be sworn in for now 31 days. And there has never been a situation like this where the speaker refuses and is obstructing me getting sworn in. So if it's successful, great. All we're asking for is to be sworn in, no more or less than any other person that has been elected in a special and sworn in shortly thereafter, especially by this speaker. This speaker has sworn 3 other members within 24 hours of their election.
Of course, we are in this shutdown, and I wonder, do you think that Democratic Party leaders are doing enough? Have they been fighting enough for you, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. Every member of the caucus has been supportive. Most have done their own videos or included me, signing letters, have press conferences. Leader Jeffries has done everything that he knows to do to try to compel Speaker Johnson to swear me in. And I have to highlight, in 2019, there was an entire freshman class sworn in during the shutdown. And so what's happening here is it's not the shutdown that is the issue. The issue is Speaker Johnson canceling votes and not allowing for an opportunity for me to be sworn in. We've had many times that we've been in a pro forma session. I believe we're at 10 since September 23rd, not including the 23rd. So there have been many times they could have just sworn me in. That's the basic function of the speaker, is to swear in whomever. And what's going on here, I think, and the reason why there's such a delay is because I will be the 218th signer to the discharge petition for the Epstein files.
And do you think that that's a topic that voters in your district are very concerned about as they're looking at this shutdown right now?
This topic never came up during the campaign. It came up at the very last of 5 debates with my Republican opponent. Now it has become a big issue because it really speaks to the transparency and lack of transparency of this administration. I mean, Speaker Johnson literally ended votes a week early in order to avoid having a vote on releasing the Epstein files on the floor. So the only reason this discharge petition exists is because Speaker Johnson refused to bring it forward, and there's clearly a majority of the House wanting to have these files open.
The Arizona Department of Economic Security announced yesterday that approved participants of the SNAP program will be unable to collect November benefits until federal funding is released to states. That, of course, also known as food stamps. So you have more than 900,000 Arizonans who get these SNAP benefits. Certainly that's how many got them last fiscal year. How do you weigh that? The needs of people who will immediately potentially go hungry against what Democrats are demanding, which is the extension of these Obamacare subsidies for the health insurance of so many other Americans.
You know, we have to be really honest about what this Republican Party is willing and not willing to do. They're willing to take food from children. They are willing to put people in horrible economic situations, threaten people's livelihood, fire people. There's 58,000 federal employees in Arizona alone that are not.
At this point may be what's in your control, right? Your party. What are Democrats willing to put up with, and what do Democratic voters want?
Well, Democratic voters and vast majority of the nation want us to have access to quality health care, want us to be able to have preventative care, want 1 in 5 children in Arizona to be able to go to the doctor. And so this line that the Democrats are holding on to is health care for the American people, period. And I can't do anything, right? I'm not sworn in, have no seat at the table when we're making these discussions, but respectfully, this is the opportunity to negotiate. What Democrats want is something that we have to balance with what are we willing to work towards together? What was sent to the Senate from the House was a CR that literally had no input from Democrats. So this is when we're supposed to be negotiating and working together to get something that we can then send to the Senate that we're willing to negotiate. This speaker is basically saying, I've done my job, this is all I'm willing to do, when a majority of the nation wants to have access to health care.
And are Arizonans okay with, and I'm familiar obviously with the budget, we covered it very closely, but are Arizonans, are they okay with that reality of some people not getting, a lot of people not getting food stamps potentially as we move towards November?
Well, and there was no reason to go into a shutdown. We had opportunities to work towards a solution. What Speaker Johnson is trying to do is put the backs of the Senate up against the wall to say, you take this or nothing. And that's not the way our government is supposed to work for the benefit of the people. And so nobody wants people to go hungry. Absolutely not. But I also can't trust this administration to not take those benefits away, period. They continue to ebb away at the fundamental social programs that are helping to support families in poverty. And what they're doing is continuing to create a greater divide of the have and the have-nots.
Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva, thank you so much for being with us. And eventually we will see you here in Washington, and we will welcome you on the show then.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, a look at the rise and evolution of American sports betting after this bombshell FBI.
I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay, we're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay.
Trump also denied reports by the Wall Street Journal the U.S. is sending B-1 bombers near Venezuela. Meanwhile, Venezuela's defense minister, Vladimir Pedrino Lopez, announced he's deploying armed forces along Venezuela's coastline.
No pasará ningún intento de...
No attempt to destabilize the Venezuelan nation will pass through here. They may send, however, many CIA-affiliated units and covert operations from any flank of the nation, and any attempt will fail, as they have failed so far.
President Trump says he suspended trade talks with Canada over an ad produced by the government of Ontario that criticizes tariffs. The ad features excerpts of a 1987 address by then-President Ronald Reagan warning of the dire consequences of high tariffs, like the 35% tariff Trump has imposed on most Canadian goods not covered under a trade agreement.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst.
They're preparing to suspend November payments to SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The Center for Budget and Policy Priorities warns that would leave about 1 out of every 8 people in the U.S. without food assistance, including some 16 million children, 8 million older adults, and 4 million people with disabilities. New York Attorney General Letitia James is set to appear in federal court in Virginia today. She's expected to plead not guilty to charges she lied in her mortgage application. James has said that she plans to ask the federal judge to dismiss her case on the grounds the U.S. Attorney in Eastern Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, was unlawfully appointed by President Trump. Last month, Trump forced out Halligan's predecessor, the Trump-appointed Eric Siebert, after he refused to bring indictments against James and the former FBI Director James Comey. The Trump administration finalized plans Thursday to open more than 1.5 million acres of Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, ANWR, to oil and gas drilling. The Interior Department also announced the first oil and gas lease sale with the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska since 2019, and it approved a more than 200-mile industrial road through Alaska's Izembek National Wildlife Refuge. Environmentalists condemned the announcements. In a statement, the Alaska Wilderness League wrote, quote, "Opening the entire coastal plain of the Arctic Refuge to drilling would destroy one of the most ecologically significant landscapes on Earth, the birthing grounds of the porcupine caribou herd, vital habitat for polar bears and migratory birds, and sacred land for the Gwich'in people who have stewarded its resources for millennia," unquote. President Trump Thursday pardoned the convicted founder of the cryptocurrency exchange Binance. Changpeng Zhao pleaded guilty in 2023 to enabling money laundering while he was CEO of Binance. According to the Wall Street Journal, Binance struck a deal with World Liberty Financial, the Trump family's crypto startup, which has generated $4.5 billion since Trump returned to office. Binance also reportedly hired lobbyist Charles McDowell, who's a close friend of Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr. Republican Senator Thom Tillis blasted Trump's pardon, saying it sends, quote, "a bad signal." When asked about Zhao's pardon, President Trump said, quote, "I don't know, he was recommended by a lot of people." The Trump administration's released a list of wealthy donors and corporations funding President Trump's $300 million construction of a 90,000-square-foot ballroom at the White House. Among the donors are Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Palantir, Lockheed Martin, and more. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, is contributing $22 million after settling a lawsuit Trump filed against YouTube for banning him from the platform after he incited his followers to attack the Capitol on January 6, 2021. On Thursday, the Secret Service shut off public access to the Ellipse, a public park adjacent to the White House, and one of the only spots to view the demolition. Photos show the entire East Wing has been knocked down.